In today's topic, we're going to discuss the category of Isser called Sefichin. The Chachamim made a gzeira during the year of Shemitah that although in Torah obviously all produce that grows on the land is permitted to be eaten, the Chachamim decreed that all vegetables and grains that grow during the year of Shemitah are forbidden to be consumed, are forbidden to be eaten due to the gzeira of Sefichin. What does it mean, the gzeira of Sefichin? The Chachamim had the following worry. If we allowed people to eat all the crops of the land that grew during Shemitah, there would be unscrupulous Jews who would plant during Shemitah, and when they would be asked, how did you get so much produce, they would say, oh, it just grew on its own. And it is permitted to eat produce that grew on its own during Shemitah. So in order to prevent people of using this allowance to be able to plant during Shemitah and benefit from selling the produce to people, they therefore forbade completely the eating of produce that grew during Shemitah. And it makes no difference if the produce grew on its own or if the produce grew through someone planting it. In all cases, if the produce grew during Shemitah, is forbidden. However, this only applies to vegetation or grains, and therefore there's really no such thing as produce on the market, at least under a kashrus supervision, of vegetables that grew during Shemitah. All vegetables that grew during Shemitah have either been grown in areas that don't have kedusha shvius, such as in Chutz La'aretz, or under the land of a guy, and not under land owned by Jews. There is no produce of vegetables that is owned by Jews that is sold on the market that grew during Shemitah under kashrus supervisions. And this is one of the reasons why in the market you have to be very careful when you purchase vegetables during Shemitah, that you have to make sure to purchase it under a proper hashgacha, as it could be that the market is filled with Sefichin, with vegetables that were grown by Jews during Shemitah and are forbidden to be eaten. Fruits of trees are not included within the gzeira of Sefichin, meaning even if trees were planted during Shemitah, they are not forbidden to eat their fruit during Shemitah due to Sefichin, and the reason is because fruits take a long time to grow, and the sages didn't suspect that one may come to plant trees during Shemitah in order to give over to be able to benefit from their production. As well, those plants that are not planted by majority of people, the Chum do not include in their gzeira of Sefichin, and it is permitted. Another type of vegetable even that is not included in the gzeira of Sefichin are those vegetables that grow from their root each year, meaning that you don't have to replant them. Since you don't have to replant them, there's no worry that someone's going to plant them during Shemitah. So this includes artichoke and pineapple, and these type of vegetables do not contain an Isser, a gzeira of Sefichin. Vegetables that grew before Shemitah, but were picked during Shemitah, practically does not contain a gzeira of Sefichin, and that is really the only way to have kedusha shvius vegetables on the market. It is through vegetables that grew before Shemitah and were picked during Shemitah, in which they have kedusha shvius, but they don't have the din of Sefichin because they were not grown during Shemitah. Grains. All grains that grew a third of their growth before Shemitah are not Sefichin. If, however, they grew during Shemitah and they are Sefichin, it's forbidden to be eaten. The gzeira of Sefichin extends even into the 8th year, meaning that all produce that grew during the 7th year, even though now it's the 8th year, still has the Isser of Sefichin. And there are certain vegetables which have a specific time in which we suspect, even during the 8th year, that they are still coming from Sefichin unless known otherwise. Vegetables that are grown in the land of a Gentile do not contain the Isser of Sefichin, and thus those that hold of Heter Mechira allow eating vegetables grown in the field during Shemitah under this basis. Produce of ownerless property or any property which is not cultivated on a normal basis does not contain the gzeira of Sefichin, and therefore something that just grew in the wild, in the middle of nowhere, even if it grew during Shemitah and is a vegetable, does not contain the Isser of Sefichin and is permitted to benefit from it. Regarding flowers, if flowers have a decree of Sefichin, and this is really relevant when buying flowers during Shemitah in Eretz Yisrael, so flowers that are grown for the sake of their scent do have a decree of Sefichin, and therefore if they grew during Shemitah, you can't buy them, you can't benefit from them. However, those flowers that do not have a scent, then it is disputed amongst Poskim if they have a decree of Sefichin upon them, and practically the custom is to allow one to be lenient by flowers not grown for the scent. Nevertheless, this doesn't give an absolute unlimited warrant to purchase flowers during Shemitah without a hashgacha, as there are other issues that are relevant when buying flowers, such as that one must make sure that the person who's selling the flowers did not work the field, did not guard the field, and if he did, then when you purchase them, you're helping someone transgress an avera. Machzikin yodei over avera. Therefore, it is best to always buy flowers to hashgacha, even if they do not pose a problem with fichin, as we explained. Bananas are not considered a vegetable in this regard, and therefore bananas do not have a decree of fichin upon them, and they are sold regularly under Eitzer Bezdin, as we will learn. Rosemary does not have a gzeir of fichin, and the reason is because rosemary grows from the root each year and is not a newly seeded plant yearly.